Hello all, welcome back. So in this session we are going to see about our review. So that's about GenAI Response, how we can review. In my previous feature edition 1, I have given you the best practices for reviewing GenAI Response. So similar kind of pattern that we are adapting when we are working for API docs generation as well. Okay, so it's a mandatory, if you ask me, it's a mandatory of reviewing the docs because it is being generated by the assistant, and we need to ensure the generated content is apt to the particular endpoint, and it is generating the appropriate content or not. Okay, so keeping that view, I have mentioned few over here, the importance of the review. Okay, one is in the GenAI world, review is key. So that we have to ensure that one review is key. So it's not that one, it is generated and our job is done. No, I don't agree. We have to review and make sure that one it is relevant to the assignment that we are doing. Okay, suppose in this particular instance we are doing it for the API doc the generation. Suppose tomorrow if you are reviewing some other purpose or reviewing the code or generating the code, in such case we need to review that code. So without reviewing, you cannot take that code into the production or your scripts development. Okay, or particular execution. You need to understand, and you need to how it can be leveraged further, or how it can be modified in case if any the feature comes up, or any additions are adding to the existing the features. That you have that kind of thought process, so that you can easily review and make that as a the standard. Okay, so move on to the with respect to the API docs. What I'm going to is, I'm just emphasizing it three things. Okay, triple elements review. Okay, it's not that one high level you have seen and finalizes, that is not the way. We need to look at the three things, so that ensure that one it is having the completeness. Okay, the first one is that I'm looking at is a request and response. So any endpoint, any the particular scenario, each endpoint has different scenarios, positive, negative, and all those things will be there. So those each endpoint scenario is having the request and response details or not. Okay, if not, you need to get it added to the document. Okay, the next one is entirety. Entirety is means completeness. You need to ensure completeness. All the sections that I have mentioned about request and response sections that I have mentioned, and additional information also that I have mentioned. So request and response, whatever we have come across, that has to be mentioned in the API docs. If not, you need to add it, or you need to get it added through the GenAI assistant, or while you are reviewing something is missing, you need to add it. Okay, and then next one is the additional information. Additional information which talks about your collection and your variables and your scripts and key validations. What is the different validations that you are doing part of this particular request. Suppose you have a books endpoint, but you are querying with path parameter. While you are doing the path parameter, what are the header parameters, or what are the response you are getting, what are the validations you need to include. Generally in this specification, API specification document, it is mentioned. Okay, based on that one, either you have to take that information and include it in the scenario design, and then you require the path, whatever the endpoint that you are designing, right, request, that you need to include. Okay, if you are including, that means correspondingly the documentation also will follow. Okay, those kind of details you have to mention as a additional information perspective. Okay, these are the typical, not typical, it's a API docs, it's a elaboration of the API specification document. Okay, it is tied up with the request that you have designed and the script that you have developed, and corresponding documentation will be there. Okay, The next is that we have to take care is, yeah, we are giving the text content, but how the appearance look like, how. So that is also one of the standard that we have to maintain while we are doing the API docs. Or else if you are giving the just generic attachment text, it won't give it, it is not meeting the standards. That's why I mentioned format also, it's important. Okay, so in order to have a first class documentation. And then the next is configuration and publish, which I shown you in the last minutes of the implementation session, how we can configure, how we can publish that one. Suppose you have designed a one particular API document and you wanted to give all the details to your partner. In such case, you have to mention all the details, okay, that API details and as well as the configuration. So you have a shared site. In that shared site, URL have to be configured so that that will be publisher, that will be available to your partners. You don't need to give that API, entire API details to that one, only the specific endpoint details that you can share it. Okay, so that's about the documentation sharing to the others. Suppose you are you are working for the open source and you have developed one particular API and you wanted to release to the public, show your work to the public. In such case, this particular publish and feature is available. Okay, so you have to take leverage of this particular the publish the feature, and while publishing you need to configure and ensuring that one your document should be available on Google search based on the certain SEO configurations as well. That also you need to take care. Okay, but for now we are working in a corporate environment, and it is not access to the outside and only within that one, so that the documentation whatever you have generated, that is associated with that your collection. Okay, so you need to ensure that one the collection have the documentation or not. That is the prime check that you have to do it. If not, then you need to generate a documentation for the script, the endpoints that you have mentioned under particular collection. Okay, so what I'm emphasizing over here is a review of the triple elements, request and response, entirety and additional information, provides clear and comprehensive information on the API endpoint that you have to ensure. And then the format or markup of the content, okay, represents the final step preparing the documentation in a first class way. Okay, and then Postman ecosystem enables users to configure and publish the documentation for teams and partners. So these are the three key elements that you need to ensure part of the review process. Okay, so far from the beginning you know what it is included, and in the review you have to ensure everything is there or not. Okay, whatever the generation the doc is generated by the assistant is to the relevant to the particular API is that you have to ensure and ensure while you are reviewing the particular API doc. Okay, so that's all I have from the review, and I'll catch you in the next session. Thank you.